Yes, welcome in one and all. This is the full 10 yards at betting podcast. 2 weeks left, guys. Two betting weeks anyway, because no one bets on the Pro Bowl. Do they, Adam? I think you probably do. Do you not? I bet you have.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a Pro Bowl bet in your life?
I don't think I have. I know you can.
Yeah.
Tom, who does the DFS stuff for me, he said that he's going to be setting up a slate for the Pro Bowl, which is, I called him a DGen for that, but I'm pretty sure I don't. I mean, there's never any Bengals players there, so it's not really worth my attention, frankly.
We'll be going. Well, you're hoping there's not this year, obviously.
There won't be this year. No. Well, I mean, Burrow didn't even get there, which is We'll move on.
Yeah, but going forward, you'd expect Jamar Chase and I'm surprised. Joe Mixon has not been in for it.
I can't remember, to be honest. I remember being a little insulted. To be fair, I think Chase, Mixon, and Hendrickson got there or got voted in. But yeah, there should have been more.
Yeah, we're obviously not. We're not here to talk about the Pro Bowl. We're here to talk about the NFC and the AFC Championship games. Obviously, the main kind of the semi-final. If you were, we've got 2 games. Bengals, Adam. You after not sending one text for 25 years or however many years it was, you got to send 2. You got to send 2 texts in 2 weeks.
I could have done, yeah, if text messaging was still around. Obviously, I'm not as young as Jack, but even I don't use text messages that much anymore. I sent you the obligatory one, and last week, obviously, a bit of a scrappy game. I don't know whether you heard how many sacks Joe Burrow took. I've not heard anyone mention it this week. But he wasn't protected the best he could have been, but he threw for 350 yards and got through the game. So it was a weird game. I didn't have that much emotion at the end of it. It was just a kind of, it's done, we're over it, let's get to the next one and move on. It was a very strange feeling.
On to the next, and someone who has a decent ticket on the 49ers to win it all. Jack, sitting pretty, although your cash out's not very appealing at the moment.
Yeah, I actually fancied the 49ers this weekend heavily. I can't believe the handicap's 3.5 over field goal, so I won't be cashing out this week. But if they're playing against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I might have to back the Chiefs as well, because I can only see that going one way. Jimmy G versus Mahomes. I think the last Super Bowl was 2017, and there's no way that the Chiefs lose to the 49ers if that's the Super Bowl matchup.
No, well, they were close last time, weren't they? Let's be fair to Jimmy G. If only he hadn't overthrown that player, whoever it was.
It was Sanders, I think, wasn't it?
Was it? Yeah, something.
I think it was Emmanuel Sanders. Yeah.
Yeah, good recall. And Adam, we spoke before we came on live. You can actually bet on Super Bowl handicap lines now, and we really you pointed it out, but I don't understand why the Chiefs are -3 against the 49ers.
No, that seems a little bit too short. Hang on a second, I had them up here. You can get -2.5 against the Rams, but only -3 against the 49ers. Obviously, it's in the Rams' own stadium, and the Rams are 3.5-point favourites this week against the 49ers. So I don't get how there's only a half-point difference in between those two lines. It just seems a little bit too short for me. So I am tempted to have a decent bet on the Chiefs -3. It's at 9-10 on Paddy Power at the moment, and I think I need to double check. I would assume it gets voided. I just need to double check on that one before I put some money down and they take my money from it. But I'd imagine it will get voided if it didn't happen.
You would certainly hope so. Otherwise,
yes.
You're asking for trouble. You are asking for trouble. Okay, then let's get into it. AFC Championship game. Can the Bengals win yet another game in the postseason? If you are watching on YouTube or maybe live on Twitter, hello first and foremost. But you can see the odds and the betting in front of you there. So Bengals 5-2, Chiefs 2-7 on the money line. Handicap. The reason I've put Bengals +7.5 is because you can find a 7.5. But obviously, if you're a Chiefs fan, you'd rather have -7, which is readily available, than -7.5. Doing yourself no favors at all. Total points over under is 54.5. And if you fancy a bit of a poke of overtime, obviously the Chiefs and the Bills were there last week, and what a game that was, by the way. And I felt so sorry for the Bills. Really wanted the Bills to get through there. And you felt it was all done and dusted when Gabe Davis was it Gabe Davis? Yeah, on his touchdown. That's
touchdown.
His fourth touchdown, indeed. Yeah, but if you fancy a nibble on overtime, 15-1, I'd suggest that there's worse 15-1 shots out there, but who bloody well knows. And then your touchdown scorers, Kelsey Hill. the main protagonists there for the Chiefs, as they always are. Obviously, you've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, McKinnon there as well. And then the main protagonists for the Bengals, Mixon, Chase, and McKinnon. Prices there are in front of you. Right then, fellas, let's get into it. Adam, obviously, your Bengals, so I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I think that the 7 points was a fair handicap. I had them at 6.5 when I suggested it to you guys earlier in the week, and I think it opened at that and then got quickly bet up to 7. I'm a little surprised to see it at 7.5 now. It's been like that for at least 2 hours. I thought that they'd be gone quite quick, but obviously the money's coming in on the Chiefs, so it's pushing it that way. I think the line's spot on. As I said, I believe that the Chiefs will probably win, but I've said that for the last 2 weeks in the Bengals games. They are arguably the better team. They've obviously got the best quarterback in the league, which definitely helps things. As we saw last week, giving him 13 seconds to move on the field is too much time. And it vindicates Zach Taylor's choices in the regular season game between these two, where he went for it on 4th down. Getting close to the goal line where they could have just kicked a field goal, but they would have allowed 40 seconds from Holmes, and he would have got that yardage. So, yeah, I'm rambling a bit because I really don't know about this game. Frankly, the Bengals have got a puncher's chance; they can put up points against anyone. Obviously, a 34-31 win earlier in the season was an impressive result. Now, I've been ranting about handicappers this week and lazy handicapping, and I've been told this week by certain people that the Chiefs weren't even trying in that game, that it was the referees, that the Bengals got lucky, that it was all this, and this. They held the Chiefs to 3 points in the second half after making halftime adjustments.
You're stealing all my notes, Adam.
Yeah, I don't think you can blame the referees for that one. They only allowed, I think, 3 or 4 drives for the Chiefs. They controlled the ball. They did really well in the second half of that game, and it came down to Burrow and Chase essentially. Now, I don't think the Chiefs are stupid enough to leave Chase one-on-one again. That would be suicide, frankly, and the Bengals would take advantage again. But I don't think the Bengals will be too fussed with that. They've got T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd on the inside, and having a top-tier quarterback, which I believe Joe Burrow is, he goes through his progressions and he finds the open man, whether that's Uzama or whether it's Higgins or Boyd or even Joe Mixon out of the backfield. The beauty of the Bengals at the moment is that they have so many targets on offense. The one thing they need to do, obviously, I will admit that 9 sacks was a little bit too much. They only allowed 4 against the Chiefs in the regular season, but holding Chris Jones mainly at bay will be the key to this one. They've done a decent job of scheming against those kind of things, obviously, apart from last week. But I'm hopeful that they'll get up for this one. From the Chiefs side of things, obviously, huge game last week. They have slightly less time to recover and the overtime. It was an emotional game, but in fairness, I believe the Chiefs think they were going to the Super Bowl, so they won't have taken the win last week too highly. It would have just been another step on the way there. Obviously, Tyreek stepped up. He had 150 yards and a touchdown. After only having 1 touchdown in the final 7 games of the regular season, he's scored in both of them so far. The studs step up when they need to, and him and Kelsey both ended up with a touchdown last week. Obviously, Kelsey had the game winner in overtime. It was a good performance from them. Obviously, it's hard to say anything against them. But the defense was poor again, has been poor all season. It ranks lower than the Bengals. Not that anyone will tell you that. You don't hear that anywhere. It's all just the positives for the Chiefs because everyone wants the Chiefs to win. So I think Burrow will be able to tear them up again. They should have Tyrann Mathieu back off concussion. His loss was what caused the 4 touchdown game from Gabe Davis last week. They were all down the middle, and that's where he would have been. So it's a good one for them. It's a bad one for the Bengals that he's back. It should be a heck of a game. You'll find out in a minute, obviously, my bets, but I do like points in this one, and I think it could easily be another 30-ish each. I think both teams have got the talent to do that. I mentioned last week the Chiefs' defense has done well against lesser opposition. They haven't done great against quality QBs, and that's what they're facing this week. So should be a cracking game. I'm glad it's the early one because I doubt I'll make it to midnight in the second one. So I'm glad that I don't have to. But yeah, it should be a cracker.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll come to the bets in a minute. I'm not quite sure why I went unders, but I was maybe going for a bit of defense. But let's be honest, it's not going to really happen, is it? You mentioned there about studs obviously turning up. I think it's worth mentioning Andy Reid is being a stud in terms of it's only the only person to lead. It's someone 2 teams to 4 straight championship games or 5 straight championship games or something. Obviously did it with the Eagles. So obviously hats off to the big walrus himself. I mean, also the other thing I want to point out, it's amazing what 13 seconds can do. You've got Patrick Mahomes leading you down the field for a field goal, and Dak Prescott can't even fucking snap the ball. Brilliant. My God, never mind. You're right. They met him. These guys met in week 17. McPherson 20 was it the chip shot field goal to win it as time expired. Chase went bananas. What was it? 3 touchdowns. Got 266 yards on 11 receptions. Since it was interesting starting here. They're only 4 out of 10 on third down. Which is not usually conducive to beating the Chiefs. Obviously, you need to try and extend drives, and like they did. Obviously, they limited drives in the second half, to 3 points. But that's it's interesting for the Chiefs because Frank Clark and Chris Jones have struggled recently. They've obviously not been the force of they have been of yester games and yesteryears or whatever. But it was interesting that the Chiefs, that game was the only time they gave up over 30 points since week 5. I think it was week 5 or week 6. Generally, their defense had turned it around and got back. But obviously, like you mentioned, the plethora of talent on that offense. Joey B, calling the shots. You're always gonna have a chance. And I think you're about right. I think 7 is about right. But if you can get 7.5, again, some bookies might want to get you to take Bengals and hope for the nuclear Mahomes just doing what he does. But Jack, conscious we're not spoken to you for about 10 minutes. So what do you think?
Just like the 2 you were saying, I think 7, the handicap's pretty much spot on. If this makes any sense, I'd be taking the Chiefs -7, but 7.5, I'd like to take the Bengals. I can see the same as the Bills game last weekend, which I know it's nearly impossible to have another game as good as that, but I can see just tons of points. I don't like taking over points in games because I don't have much luck with it this year. But I definitely will be leaning towards the overs in this one. Bengals defense has been very, very good in the playoffs so far. They have an extra day's rest, as Adam was saying. And the Chiefs are after coming off a big emotional win, but I don't think it's as emotional as it will be for other teams because they're expecting to be winning Super Bowls every year as opposed to beating the Bills. I think the main bets on this game, I'd say, will be kind of overs on the Bengals props, like the likes of Burrow passing yards and the likes of T. Higgins. I think is handicap 17.5 or something like that. I'd be getting all over that. Jamar Chase had 3 touchdowns and 266 yards or something in the game in early January, and I can't see him doing that again. That's just a godlike performance. So I'd say T. Higgins might be getting other targets that Chase will be double teamed or triple teamed, or whatever they'll do to stop him. Really looking forward to it. I can't see the Bengals winning. They've been really feel good story of the NFL this year, and they can probably do it again next year. When other pending free agents see how good this team is, and how young they're a lot more attractive in the off season to get even more free agents. But 7 I think is pretty much spot on. As for the overs and unders, I'd be leaning overs, but I hate backing it. And the main thing I'd be doing would probably be the likes of Higgins. I think he's 100 yards and a touchdown is 5-1 on Paddy Power. I know 100 yards is a lot, but I think Burrow is going to be throwing for majority of this game. I think there was 900 yards of offense in the game in early January, and I could see something like that happening again.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, like you say, if it wasn't for the last 2 minutes and overtime in the Bills Chiefs game, I think that game was under, wasn't it? Because that was 50. It ended up at 72 or whatever it ended up at.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's 54, 55 is a high one, but like I say, these teams easily have the capability to get to 30, like they did in week 17, as my dog tries to jump off a cliff. But yeah, let's get Adam. Actually, before we get to the bets, Jack obviously brought up a point about been the feel good story of the year. Obviously, first playoff win since Adam and Eve, and what would you not quite that long, but what would you if you're as a Bengals fan, what would you want to see them improve next season to, again, if they do get defeated in this title game? Obviously the experience is all great and all that, but it's quite top heavy in this AFC. What would you like to see as a Bengals fan they improve to help them get to a bowl?
Yeah, not the toughest question to answer that one. It's obviously the offensive line. It hasn't been great this year. The tackles are fine. Riley Reef missing for the second half of the season has been a hit to them. They've struggled on the right-hand side of it. So, but it's the interior where they need the help. The left-hand side, again, is all right with Jonah Williams. I was going to say Jonah Hill. Definitely not him. Jonah Williams and Quinton Spain on the left-hand side have been fine. The centre has been all right. It's been the right-hand side, and they need probably a couple of guards at a bit more depth. They have a ton of cap space. I think they're top 5 in cap space. And as Jack said, they're a very young team. So the potential's there for them to be good for a couple of years if they can solidify a few key areas. They need to re-sign a couple of players. Jesse Bates has raised question marks this year. He hasn't been great, but in the playoffs, he's been outstanding. He was great last week. And then the linebackers have been really good. Obviously, they're quite young. Been drafting them. There's only a couple of areas where they really need to strengthen, and they should be able to do that with the money and the draft capital they've got. Obviously, going to be picking last 4 in the draft, which is I was going to say a refreshing change. Yeah. A very weird change for the Bengals. It's going to be
the
an
Dolphins,
early start.
so it's not too bad.
Well, yeah, Dolphins the second half at least, but yeah, last 4 in the draft is going to be a very strange thing. I might have to just get up an hour early for work and should be able to catch them before that. But yeah, they've
the Dolphins are the 49ers pick, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, that's why I'm cheering for them to win.
Yeah, if it's going to be bad, make it really bad. But yeah, it's they have the cap space in the draft to be able to improve the areas they need to improve. So I'm hopeful, and the free agency signings this year were outstanding. They were brilliant from top to bottom. Essentially, they all starred in this game, and even the guy Zach Kerr, I think it is, they picked up last week. He had a tackle in a game against the Titans because we're struggling at defensive tackle. So even the players they're picking up off the street are making impacts in games. So I'm actually mildly confident of the front office, and they've proved themselves over the last couple of years after being slandered for decades. So yeah, fingers crossed they'll be able to strengthen where they need to.
There we go. Right, okay, let's get into the bets for the game then. We've added Callum's bets in as well, but he's gallivanting or around Colorado somewhere. But if you are watching or listening or whatever, hi Callum. Yeah, so as you can see, kind of split opinions in terms of handicap. Me and Adam gone Bengals plus 7.5. And like Jack said, obviously, yeah, if you can find 7.5, go Bengals. And if you find the Chiefs -7, maybe go for that as well. Just disregard my under 54. You know my record on totals this season, so just ignore that. Probably go over 54.5. That everyone else has got. Jamar Chase is, like I said on the first graphic there, he's 5-4 anytime. Adam and Jack have gone T. Higgins. Got quite a few receptions last week, didn't he, old Mr. T? And then Callum's gone CJ Uzama, who had the touchdown in the wild card round, didn't he, against the Raiders. He is 9-4. And then props, I've gone McPherson over 6.5 kicking points. I thought if it is going to be a high scoring game, chances are he's going to kick at least 7 points, even like 2 field goals and a touchdown, or maybe for Adam's sake 4 touchdowns and a field goal or something. There's your 30 points there. So yeah, I went with that. The props were quite hard for me this week. I thought I even went to the depths of looking at defensive player tackles and all the rest of it, but I thought the kicking points were quite low considering some of the it's a 54.5 total, so 6.5 kicking points doesn't seem quite right to me, but there we are. Adam's gone over 11.5 second half points for the Bengals. Jack's gone over 70.5 yards receiving for Higgins, and Mixon over 28.5 receiving yards for Callum. Adam or Jack, do you want to make any points about why you selected any of your selections?
I'll let Jack go first before I monopolise more time.
Well, the overs, I don't know why I'm going for the overs again. I just can't go for unders in this game. As I said, I think it's going to be something like the Bills game last weekend. Maybe not as high scoring, but I wouldn't be surprised if both teams hit 30 points. T. Higgins, yeah, I'm just trying to avoid doing Chase because 266 yards last time they played. I don't think he can possibly go anywhere near that again. The last thing the Chiefs want is him to do more damage in this game, and they'll get some abuse for it if he does it 2 games in a row against them. So that's the reason I'm going with Higgins. I just think that he'll be left 1-on-1, and they'll have most of the defensive backs on Chase. And I've kind of doubled down then on him anytime touchdown score. Again, hopefully he has 1-on-1 coverage and he gets the targets in the end zone. There's not that much value, I don't think, in the anytime touchdown scores in this game because the total is so high. But yeah, I probably would have went with Chase, but I think he's 5-4. So Higgins is better value at 19-10.
Yep, fully agree with T. Higgins on that one. When I saw Jack had put that in there, I was all over it. Yeah, it was. He had 96 yards off 7 receptions last week. He had 4 out of the last 6 regular season games. He had 100 yards, and I agree. I think that they will be concentrating on Chase a little bit more, and he can go up and get it. He had a deep shot against 2 Chiefs cornerbacks in the regular season game and came down with that. He's shown he can do it, and he's been outstanding this year. I've just checked. That's why I got Jack to go first. 13.5 is the average second half points for the Bengals this year, and even a Bengals fan, I've got to assume that they'll be trailing at the half time, and they will need to put up points. So for them to get 2 touchdowns, I think is fairly sensible in the second half. The reason the McPherson kicking points is one I looked at as well, but I just worry that they won't go for any field goals in this one. And that was my worry on it, and that's the only reason I didn't go for that one.
Have to get mine early.
Yeah, or late. I mean, they could finish with a field goal again, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was
points.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was 4 touchdowns and a field goal. To be honest, it is what happened in the first game. And Mixon receiving yards again that Callum has chosen. I think that's a fairly sensible one. All these lines have gone up, by the way, since we put them in earlier. I just checked on 365. They're all 2 or 3 yards higher than where we had them. But yeah, Mixon has had over that line in the last couple of games, and he's again a dump off out for Burrow. So yeah, it's all good.
All good. So let's see who the Bengals will be facing in the Super Bowl. I joke, of course. Let's move over to the 49ers and the Rams. Rams are -3 at home, 4-7 on the money line. 49ers 8-5, which is 1.6 for people that like decimals. Over under here, 45.5. Thought was maybe slightly a bit low, but these defenses can be quite decent and disruptive. And overtime here is a bit shorter, 11-1. But again, I've seen a lot worse 11-1 shots. Anytime at touchdown scorers, they obviously Cup is your favorite. He's the only one that is odds on for anytime. And then Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell, obviously the main guys at San Francisco, 15-2 first, and just a bit more of bit more than evens for any time. And then you can see Akers, OBJ, Higbee for the Rams there at bigger prices, and then Georgie Kittle, who is either very much in the game or very much blocking. He's 14-1 first or last, and 5-2 any time. Yeah, I mean, 49ers' recent record against the Rams, you have to back the +3.5 for 49ers, don't you, to be quite honest. I mean, I was surprised they're giving you the 0.5. I was expecting this to be like a -1.5 or 2, but certainly not 3.5. The reason that the Rams seem to struggle against the 49ers, and probably why most teams struggle against the 49ers, is they can get really good pressure with the 4 that they send, Armstead, Bosa, and all the rest of them. So, you've got very little space for the wide receivers to operate in, and you've got to be a very, very good quarterback like a Mahomes, not a Dak Prescott, to find Cooper Kupp and all the rest of them. But Stafford has been excellent against the blitz, so that kind of nullifies that a little bit because the 49ers don't really need to blitz. So be interesting to see if Matthew Stafford kind of reverts back to his throw it up and intercept me status, rather than he's kind of been trailblazing a little bit for the last couple of weeks. Played really well, but yeah, I mean, to see Jimmy Garoppolo in this game just makes me want to cry. I can't. There's not enough you can say to even there's so much evidence you can put against Jimmy G not deserving to be in here. I mean, like he's thrown two touchdowns and 6 picks in his last 4 games. 10 turnover worthy plays, and he's just awful. He's just awful. I went back and watched the for a glutton for punishment. I went back and watched the Dallas San Francisco game. My God Almighty. I'll stop talking. For me, the key in this one is going to be Tom Compton at right tackle against Von Miller. Von Miller's been kind of turning the clock back a little bit. I looked at, like I say, when I was looking at defensive props, I was looking at him. I think his tackles was 4.5 or 3.5 or something. Nearly pulled the trigger on the over on that, but there are a few players that that could be overs on the tackles for the Rams, but yeah, I think that's probably going to be the key matchup to keep Jimmy G upright, to nearly throw interceptions, but also obviously you tend to be running at Aaron Donald, but if you're the 49ers, but Adam, yeah, like I say, you can't really look past 3.5 for the 49ers.
You shouldn't, because of the recent record, but again, it's the quality of the teams. It's one of those that they always say defense wins championships, but I don't know whether it does this year. You look at the offenses who have made it to the Final Four, and the Rams, the Chiefs, and the Bengals have got 3 of the better offenses in the league. So I'm just not sure the 49ers defense and run game will be able to cope with the power of the rest of the other 3, frankly. As you've said, Jimmy Garoppolo, 11 completions last week. Doesn't exactly do it for you, does it? It's 100. It does. I wouldn't say boggles the mind. It's just what coaching can do. If you have a top coach, you can kind of nullify the issues of your quarterback. But that's fine up until you come against decent teams and the best teams. And obviously, you're getting down to that now. Matthew Stafford has been outstanding. He's been brilliant the last couple of games. Last week, he obviously won the game for them. He wasn't the reason that they allowed the Bucs back into it. It was poor play calling, frankly, by McVay. He went into a shell again, which is what he did in the Week 18 game between these two, obviously allowing the 49ers to win after being 17-0 down at halftime. He just goes to running the ball. I do feel that they will not punish Cam Akers, but probably go away from him a little bit this week after putting their faith in him and him having 2 fumbles last week, which really, I mean, they could have put them out. So I do feel that Sony Michel will get more of the ball this week, which is
good shout. Yeah, like that.
Which is one of my props later, which is why I went with that one. Obviously, Cooper Kupp for the Rams, but they've been using him well to distract from other players, and Odell Beckham stepped up in the playoffs. Again, I want to say the studs step up. I don't know whether you can still class Odell as that, but he has been very good in the last few weeks, and he obviously has the talent to do it. Van Jefferson is suffering a little bit of a knock, so it'll be interesting to see what I do there. But Higbee scored last week, and he's done well in the postseason as well. Obviously, the Rams' defense has been great. Miller and Donald were all over Brady last week. Trent Williams is the superstar left tackle for the 49ers. Didn't practice with an ankle injury, but I'd imagine they'll just tape it in 3 inches of tape and just kind of plaster it in place. And he'll have to do his job like that, essentially. But 49ers side of it, obviously a whole load of Debo. He's been the best player in the league. I've said it the last few weeks. Best player in the league to watch. He's just outstanding. I need to stop saying outstanding. It's my word at the moment. He's been brilliant on the ball, and whether he's rushing it or receiving it. But other than that, it's tough to see. Tough to see where the 49ers are going to get it from, but they always do. Elijah Mitchell was injured this week as well. Debo came off late. Kittle came off late in the Green Bay game, but they're all expected to go. But it's a little bit of a worry. They're all getting banged up. So I think the Rams win, and I think they win comfortably. I know that's a stupid thing to say after losing 6 in a row in kind of, I wouldn't say inexplicable circumstances, but there's obviously some kind of coaching mismatch and something that changes the games on these ones. But McVay's a decent coach. You'd hope that he will implement something that will get them through this week, and I think they're going to make it to another home Super Bowl.
Yeah, you mentioned about especially on third downs, and again going back to the game I rewatched against Dallas on the third downs that they had. Kyle Shanahan always just finds the right play. It's so frustrating because you get them in 3rd and 5, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, and they just find the play, and it's infuriating. But again, that's hats off to Kyle Shanahan. And like you say, you don't really know where it's coming from, but you've got people like Travis Benjamin, who was a Cleveland Brown, LA Charger throwaway, making a play on third downs and all the rest of it. And it's just like I say, they don't necessarily need studs. They just know what they need to do with the players. It's kind of like Patriot, you don't need, obviously they've got studs with Debo Samuel and Kittle and all the rest of it, obviously when he's catching the ball, but you just put a person in a position to make a play and get the best and get the most out of them, and that's what the 49ers have always done, and that's partly why I hate them. But because Dallas seem to be the complete opposite. But Jack, how do you see this one going?
I think like Shanahan 6-0 against McVay. The Rams being 17 up at halftime, and I think it was 17 up or maybe at halftime or 17-3, but ended up losing the game. I genuinely think the 49ers were in the Rams' head. Even after that game, the 49ers think at the fifth seed or seventh, fifth seed, yeah. To see them for the Rams to get back into the NFC Championship game and to playing against the 49ers, I doubt there's another team they like to play less than the 49ers. Even the Packers, they nearly fancy their chances. I think that the Rams need to start off this game all guns blazing and take a decent lead, because if it's close, I think that sports psychology will play a big part. The 49ers, I don't know how they're doing it. I think Garoppolo's 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions so far. They somehow just managed to keep winning. He's by far the worst quarterback out of the 4 of them. And with my bet slip for 49ers, every time I see him hike the ball and not hand it off, I'm preparing for the worst. I don't know how he keeps doing it. There's just an inevitable interception, and I wouldn't mind. They're always just stupid ones as well at critical moments. But
there was a stupid stat. There was a stupid stat going around about in games where Jimmy G doesn't throw a touchdown, or he has 0 touchdowns. Is was it 7-2 or something? Yeah. But how is that even a stat that you want to boast about?
Oh, it's crazy. I know that obviously they drafted Trey Lance. He hasn't turned out to be what they wanted straight away. I'd say Jimmy G will be gone in the offseason, regardless of how they get on this year. But I have a bet slip. I have an outright bet for the 49ers, and hopefully they just keep handing the ball off to Mitchell or even to Debo, who, as Adam was saying, I think he's one of the best players in the NFL. I was actually looking Super Bowl MVP. He's 20-1. I think if the 49ers do win the Super Bowl, I can't see Jimmy G getting it. He's just very average. I know quarterbacks usually get it, but he runs with the ball. He catches the ball. 20-1, I think, it's nearly like an outright bet for the 49ers to win the Super Bowl. I know not quite, but it's good value. I think the 49ers will win. But I'm not that confident. I'll be more confident of the handicap at 3.5, which, as you said earlier on, it's a lot higher than I thought it would be. I thought it would maybe go down to 1.5 or 2. So getting over the field goal, I think, is probably the best bet in this game.
Yeah, there we go. And I mentioned that Debo Samuel 20-1. I need to need to get that. I don't know if you'll get your money back on that one though, but we shall see. You have to look at the T's and C's. Let's have a look at the selections then for everyone. Adam has gone, obviously, like you mentioned, -3.5. Callum joins in that boat.
Yeah, that's not a good sign for me, is it? Being on Callum's side of things.
On the NFC, yeah. I don't know how he did last week, to be fair. And then, me and Jack in the same boat as well, up a certain creek without a certain aid. But there we go. And then, I've gone overs with Callum on that one. You've got unders, Adam and Jack. And then, again, just a random selection of TD scorers there. I was very surprised to see Debo Samuel at 5-4. He should be really odds-on territory at this stage, to be quite honest. And then, probably my favourite bet of the weekend, Robbie Gould over 6.5 kicking points. Yes, he's not missed in the playoffs, so now that I've backed this, he will miss one. Adam, I like obviously your reasoning for under 17.5 rush attempts there for Cam Akers. Do like that. That's probably one of the best bets of the weekend for me as well, but that you've brought up on there. Jack's gone over 41.5 receiving yards for Higbee, and Callum has gone over 52.5 receiving yards for OBJ. So everyone's thinking Matthew Stafford's going to have a good game. But does anyone want to talk through theirs? I know Adam, you mentioned about Akers, but yeah.
Yeah, the Akers line, I thought it was quite high. Obviously, just checking last week, 24 carries for 48 yards last week. So they were trying to get him the load, but he was doing nothing with it, and obviously fumbled twice. I just think that logically you're going to go away from him a little. They did have the lead, and they may have the lead here. That is a worry. And as I say, McVay does go conservative when they have the lead, so he might go back to Akers. It was obviously a show of faith giving him more carries after the first fumble. But the second fumble, I just think that you're going to give it to Sony Michel more. He doesn't fumble. So it makes more sense going for him. And he averaged 4 yards per carry on his one carry last week. So a little bit better than the 2 yards that Akers was doing. Odell, again, I think he scored 7 or 8 in the second half of the season since joining the Rams. I think obviously they're going to cover Cup. And Odell has been getting open, so he was my TD pick. I do like the Robbie Gould points. I think that's a decent one. I expect it to be a tight, low-scoring game, so there could be a couple of field goals, and then you're only needing one touchdown then. So that's a decent pick. Yeah, I quite like that one. And obviously Callum throws over on Beckham receiving yards. I'm going to assume it was for the same reasoning I gave. I do like Debo for the MVP. I think he was one of the 3 or 4 that I listed when you put it in a different chat. So yeah, we'll. I think it's going to be a tight game, which means I probably should have gone for the +3.5. But I do think the Rams are the better team, and I just can't believe the 49ers can keep doing what they've been doing.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I can bear to see them in another Super Bowl. But I mean, I can't do it. It's just, I hate them. I hate them so much. Yeah, but it's an interesting point you made earlier, Jack, about Jimmy G. Like I say, hypothetically, if they did win the Super Bowl, do they just get a better trade price for him? Don't know. But the 49ers can cut him quite easily next year. Like, it's only a dead cap of like $1 million, $2 million or something. His base salary is only $23 million. So very, very interesting kind of crossroads for the 49ers. And it's fast approaching. Like I say, Lance, everyone kind of expected with the draft capital invested in him, he would have been starting in this game. Should they have made it? But he's obviously not done enough to, or either that or Jimmy G's got some Kyle Shanahan nudes. I don't know. But Jack, back to your selections. Anything in particular you wanted to point out or bring up?
The unders as well, like the under 45.5. As I said, I'd rather do an unders in matches than overs. The 49ers defense has been unbelievable in the off season or in the postseason. Like your man, the middle linebacker Fred Warner's absolutely unbelievable. He's probably one of the best defensive players in the whole league. He could, if you watch him, like even before the snap, he seems to be telling everyone what to do. I know that's what the middle linebacker is supposed to do, but he just seems to be on a different level to the rest of them. I went for Higbee over receiving yards. He's been over 46, I think, in his last 4. He seems to be getting a lot of targets and a lot of receptions in the last couple of games. So 41.5, I think, is definitely doable. And I went for Elijah Mitchell, anytime touchdown score, 13-10. I know he got injured, but I think he's good to go. He consistently gets 20 carries every game he plays. They seem to just keep handing the ball off to him. So, a touchdown at 13-10, I think is definitely backable. I've seen Paddy Power had 100 yards and a touchdown, I think is 9-2. And if you're getting 20 carries a game, that's definitely doable. Like one decent break, maybe a 30-yard run or something like that, and you're nearly there. And hopefully that obviously runs into the unders. Hopefully the 49ers just keep rushing the ball. So all my bets are kind of tied into each other. But yeah, they're the ones I like really for that game.
Yeah, that is fair enough. That pretty much rounded that. And just the 2 games, but we've managed to let's say I told you, Adam, we'd be able to fluff 40 minutes out of it easy.
I know. I do like to ramble, especially when I'm ranting about my own team.
But yeah, there seems to be some weird stuff going on. So it's time for us to call it a night. Let's say no show next week because it's the Pro Bowl, unless Adam wants to do one. But we'll be back in a couple of weeks, obviously, to preview everything from the Super Bowl. I don't know much about Eminem and Dr. Dre and all the rest of them lot, so maybe I'll refer to one of you guys. We'll maybe get a few guests on as well, have a bit of fun. Maybe return of that.
Rap God for first song. It was the first song on the trailer. It must be.
All right, I don't know what you're talking about. It means nothing to me. A couple of weeks' time, we would say we'll go through all the market. It's always a bit of fun. No doubt we'll have some national anthem length conversation and all the rest of it. Hopefully it's the Bengals, Adam, and I don't know what your nerves would be like, but fingers crossed for it.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting night. I've got a few people coming around, as I always do for Super Bowls, and having my own team involved is something I honestly really didn't think would ever happen, frankly. So it would be interesting. I'll go that much. Unfortunately, the increased alcohol would make me not enjoy it as much because I'd be too pissed. But I think I'd have to find some way of limiting myself. But it'd be a heck of a night. Yeah.
And if we get a Bengals 49ers, Jack will be happy as well because he can cash out his 49ers bet. So fingers crossed for you, but obviously I don't want to see Jimmy G in another Super Bowl. No, thank you. Although it would give you legs on Debo Samuel MVP. But that's for a couple of weeks' time. We'll be back and say maybe have a few guests, have a bit of fun. Maybe the return of the £100 challenge. Maybe we can blow the cobwebs off for that one and get that one going as well. But we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Don't forget at full 10 yards for all your there'll be a couple of game previews obviously this week for that, and obviously all your Super Bowl stuff. stuff. At Touchdown Tips on Twitter for Adam, and tdtips.com for his write-ups, and then Jack T_95 for his musings as well on Twitter, though he's not the biggest of tweeters. But just a couple of weeks left to go. Enjoy the games, enjoy the championship games. Hope your teams win. Hopefully we win a lot of cash, because there's not many opportunities left to win any. We'll be back in a few weeks. Bye bye. Ta-ta. Ta-ta.